Welcome to Valhalla Sports Talks, the voice of fantasy football. My name's Jeff Cran, aka the Mad Viking, and today we're going to get into the 2020 fantasy football rookie draft rankings. Just an early look at the rookies coming into the NFL. This is obviously a pre-draft edition. We'll do another one later on after we've found what homes these players are headed to. But this is an early look at both the offensive and defensive side of the ball as far as rookies that you might be looking at in your fantasy football drafts. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring up the graphics here. So like I said, we're just going to take a little look at probably the top 30 to 40 on the offensive side of the ball and maybe the top 10 to 15 on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of folks are saying probably that this is a little bit too early to be doing these draft rankings, but what the heck? We don't really have much else to do right now, and so it'll be a good little look pre-draft before we find out, like I said, where these folks are going to find a home at. So let's go ahead and bring up the offensive side of the ball here. And this is kind of exciting. I have a league personally that is active currently. We're into our first month of the league year. April 1st is when this thing kicked off. And Friday night, we're going to do our draft lottery, where the worst 8 teams in the league last year, presumably, are going to be in a draft lottery where we decide who's going to get the number 1 pick overall in the draft. So that's pretty exciting. That'll be here on the channel. So tune in Friday night if you're interested in something like that. But let's get right into these rookies. And I'm not going to do a lot of in-depth analysis here because I obviously have league mates that come in here and check this out. So I don't want them catching up on any of my secrets here or who I'm targeting in the draft. But we'll go through and we'll start off here with number 1 on the board there. You've got Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver out of Alabama. Anyone that's played in a league with me knows that there's no way in hell I'm drafting a wide receiver 1 overall. But here on the website we're using for the top rankings here is lineups.com. Excellent content there, so if you want to check them out. But their first ranking was Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver out of Alabama. DeAndre Swift, the running back out of Georgia, is their second ranking, and that's where things get serious for me in fantasy football when we start talking about these running backs, right? Swift, who knows where he ends up getting drafted. Let me jump back to Jeudy real fast. Jeudy, kind of the likely landing spot for him in most of the mock drafts that I've seen seems to be the Packers. I mean, not the Packers, excuse me, to the San Francisco 49ers, perhaps, or one of those teams in that 8 to 12 range. So could be interesting where he ends up. DeAndre Swift now, running back out of Georgia, likely not going to be going in the first round of the draft on April 23rd, but you never know. He could. A lot of devaluing of the running backs on the NFL side. Fantasy football, running backs are still king, in my opinion. So we'll see where Mr. Swift ends up after the draft, and that'll give us a better idea of how high he's going to go in the rankings. But as of today, they've got him ranked at number 2. CeeDee Lamb went too far there. CeeDee Lamb ranked at number 3 there. The wide receiver out of Oklahoma, another exciting prospect. I personally think that he is going to be a very exciting NFL player. So excited to see where he's going to end up. Again, he's probably going to go in that range there, that 10 to 15 range, I think, in the upcoming draft. J.K. Dobbins, the running back out of Ohio State, comes in at number 4. Another exciting running back prospect. And then Jonathan Taylor, running back, Wisconsin. I've seen Taylor ranked number 1 overall in some sites, but this one here, they've got Mr. Taylor ranked number 5. Laviska Shenault, at number 6, the wide receiver out of Wisconsin. The wide receiver out of Colorado. gotta get better at reading my screens here while I'm talking, but he's the wide receiver out of Colorado. He's supposed to be a very exciting player, fast as can be. So another one that'll be interesting to see where he lands. Now this is kind of the first one that kind of surprised me when I opened up this article and started reading it. They've got Joe Burrow, the quarterback, ranked at number 7 here, going into the pre-draft rankings, right? With everything that's going on right now, it'll be very interesting because a lot of this off-season stuff isn't going to happen right after the draft like it usually does. Usually you have the draft, and then that following week or so you start having mini camps start, and then the summer program begins, and a lot of that stuff's not going to occur. It doesn't seem like as far as where we're headed right now. So we'll see. If Burrow doesn't get the full off season as an NFL starter there leading up to the regular season, it'll be pretty surprising to me if he's the actual starter going into the season. So that seems kind of a high ranking at this point. And we all kind of think that he's going to Cincinnati, right? So, again, it's early, and we're just doing a top rookie rankings as we sit today, right, here in April. After Joe Burrow at 7, you've got Henry Ruggs III, the wide receiver out of Alabama. So he comes up at that point. Another one of those Alabama receivers. Crazy fast, also exciting. I think Ruggs is probably still going to go somewhere in that first round. But April 23rd, tune in to Valhalla Sports Talk, and we're going to have a live stream during the draft that evening. So tune in and follow along and let us know your reactions as you're going through, as we're going through that, of what's going on your screen there. So that'll be fun. At number 9, you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back out of LSU. I'm trying not to tip my hand and things, but he's one of my favorites in the running back class this year. But we'll have to see where he ends up. How many teams in the NFL would you say are looking for starting running backs right now? I can think of, as far as starters, probably about 3 teams maybe max. So it's tough for these young running backs to get peak playing time as this thing starts out. But we'll see what happens there. At number 10, you've got the electric running back out of Utah, Zach Moss. Next up on the board, another exciting prospect, another running back. Should be interesting to find out where he lands. And then we kind of start getting into players that I've seen mocked coming up in like the second round. Some first, some second, but this is the first. T. Higgins, I see him drop a lot in the mock drafts to the Vikings at one of their picks in the 20s there. But T. Higgins, the wide receiver out of Clemson, exciting prospect there. At number 12, you've got Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver out of TCU. Excuse me, the wide receiver out of LSU. Another one of those stars. When you start looking at these, the mock drafts and the player rankings going into the draft here on the 23rd, LSU comes all the way down the list. It seems like you see the LSU logo pop up all the time. So they've got a lot of players coming out in this draft that are all highly regarded, it seems like. So that's another one to add to that list, that Justin Jefferson, wide receiver LSU. At number 13, you've got Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver out of TCU. That's what I meant to say earlier. Another exciting player. I've seen him go anywhere in the first, early second. So it'll be interesting to find out what home he finds. At number 14, our second quarterback shows up, right? Tua Tagovailoa. And we've talked about him in other videos on the channel prior to this. Exciting prospect, quarterback out of Alabama. The big issue here with Tua is going to be what team is going to take a chance on him with his injury history. So we've got not only the major hip injury that he had at the end of last season, but he's got some ankle stuff that's happened before, and he's got issues with concussions. So I mean, I've seen him mocked anywhere from top 3 to the middle of the first, and I even saw him fall to the old Vikings a couple times. So we'll see where he lands. It should be very interesting. My prediction is probably he's going to end up somewhere like San Diego or something like that. All right, at 15, you got Cam Akers, the running back out of Florida State, another exciting running back prospect. In the Dynasty League that I spoke about earlier, the one that has the draft lottery this Friday, that league is huge. I mean, we basically have, I think there's 16 teams in each conference, so 32 teams total in the league. So you can imagine how deep and how far you have to look to find players in that league to add to your roster. But Cam Akers, I'm sure, will end up on a roster in that league. And he, as I mentioned before, he is out of Florida State. At 16, you've got Bryce Hopkins, the first tight end that shows up on the rankings here. He's out of Purdue. Tight end is always not all fantasy football leagues have tight ends anymore, but every one that I'm in still does. And so it's one of those positions where there's like the top 3 guys, and then poof, what do you go from there? So it'll be interesting to see if Mr. Hopkins here is added to the list of guys that are legit at that position. Number 17, we've got Tyler Johnson, the wide receiver out of Minnesota, another exciting prospect, especially for folks up from Minnesota way. They loved him during his college career up there. Should be interesting to find out where he lands. He could very well be wearing Vikings purple in another number of mocks that I've seen. At number 18, you got the second tight end that shows up, Cole Kmet, the tight end out of the Fighting Irish Notre Dame. So that we talked about tight ends just a second ago and how tough it is to find good ones. Everyone's looking for that George Kittle now, right? We all want that guy on our fantasy football rosters. So is Cole Kmet going to be one of those guys? Time will tell, right? Where does he end up? Does he get some playing time? That's what's important, right? 19, you got Hunter Bryant, another tight end out of Washington. I haven't really researched Bryant a lot. I probably should look into him. But he's a tight end out of Washington. At number 20, you've got Brian Edwards, right? He is the wide receiver out of South Carolina. Another one a little higher than I've had him in my rankings, but another one that's gonna find a home somewhere in the NFL, and it'll be interesting to find out where he lands. All right, so let's move this list up just a little bit. I think I went up too high there. All right, so at 21 there, we've got Michael Pittman Jr., the wide receiver out of USC. I've generally seen him, he's ranked on this list 21. I've generally seen him mocked, getting picked in like the second round in the NFL draft coming up. We'll see, but he is an exciting burner out of USC. Go Trojans. So we'll move on from there. At 22, probably in my opinion, one of the most debated prospects in the entire draft. That's Justin Hebert, the quarterback out of Oregon. I've seen people that are in love with this guy. They think he's going to get drafted top 3. And then I've seen other people like me that aren't impressed with him at all and aren't sure where he's going to fit in the NFL. But at least on this website here, they've ranked him as I lost him already. Oh, as the 22nd prospect on this list here. We'll go down through probably, let's go to 30 all the way through there. And let's do that. So at 23, you've got Antonio Gandy Golden, the wide receiver out of Liberty. A lot of buzz on this guy. He's kind of the one that's popping up on everybody's radar to be the guy like maybe a Metcalf that that gets drafted low, but then kind of explodes late in the season. But we'll see how it goes. He's a wide receiver out of Liberty. 24, you got KJ Hamler, the wide receiver out of Penn State. 25, you got the third quarterback that we've seen, Jake Fromm, the quarterback out of Georgia. It's kind of, as you look through the different mock drafts and comments on Twitter and all that stuff, it seems like some people like him and some people don't like him much at all, but I kind of think if the Vikes were looking to draft a quarterback here in this draft, if they could get Fromm somewhere in that early third, he might be worth it at that point, because we do have the 12 picks in the draft, but we'll see what happens from there. 26, you got A.J. Dillon, the running back out of Boston College, another exciting running back prospect. I don't know that he's going to be in that starter vein in the NFL, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. 27, Eno Benjamin, the running back out of Arizona State, another speed burner. Exciting prospect there. And then at 28, we've got Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State, another boomer bust prospect here, right? I've seen him going in mock drafts anywhere from, this is in the NFL draft, of course, but I've seen him going anywhere from late first to early second to dropping way further than that. This guy, presumably, he has all the measurements that you're looking for in a prototypical quarterback. But kind of the issue is the competition that he played against, and he almost threw as many interceptions, however, as he did touchdowns last year for his college. So that's kind of crazy there. But I've seen him going to the Patriots in a lot of mock drafts. At 29, you've got Brandon Ayuk, the wide receiver out of Arizona State, another burner. On this channel, we don't talk positively about Arizona State players, though, so we're just going to move on to the next one. At 30, you've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, the wide receiver out of Michigan. I think he's ranked a little high there, but another prospect at wide receiver. I'll go a couple more. 31, we got Thaddeus Moss, the tight end out of LSU. This is the son of Randy Moss, Hall of Famer for the Minnesota Vikings. I've seen him getting mocked as far as the NFL draft in that second to third round range. I'd like to see him wearing purple because we like to keep guys named Moss on our squad. Right after Moss, you have at 32 Jalen Hurts, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. Another exciting player there. It seems like he's getting mocked in like the third round area. So where he ends up, who knows? And at 33, you got KJ Hill, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. They just keep producing those wideouts that come to the NFL, get drafted. So let's see if he can live up to those that came before him. Alrighty, and 34, Albert Okwigbaum, I can't even say it, the tight end out of Missouri. And we'll end it right here at Lamical Perine, the running back out of Florida. Another exciting prospect coming into the NFL. So at this point, let's go ahead and bring that down. At the bottom of the screen there, I've got our social media scrolling by there. If you'd like to contact us, or we'd like to ask you to follow us on Twitter. Obviously, subscribe to us here on YouTube. But we've also got our links to our Facebook page and our Instagram account, which I don't do much on the Instagram account. I probably should start doing something there. But we're kind of starting out here, getting this thing going. But those are our social media links. Ask you to please check that stuff out here. Let me go ahead and bring that down. And what we're going to do up next here is we're going to bring up these top IDP rookies, right? So not a lot of leagues do this. Do the defensive side of the ball. In the fantasy league, the one I mentioned earlier that we're having our thing on Friday, we do have individual defensive players, as well as my league that I run. We also have individual defensive players. Brings a whole new deal to fantasy football. Makes it a lot more fun, I think, to have both offense and defense going on there. But we're just going to get into like the top 10 IDP players in 2020. And this is coming, we're getting our information here from idpguys.org. Okay. So the first one that they've got showing up on their little section there is obviously Chase Young, right? The edge rusher out of Ohio State. Exciting player. It'll be very interesting to see where he ends up. Almost every mock you look at has the Redskins picking him at number 2. So another exciting player coming into the league. I think he's going to go pretty high in the fantasy drafts as well, and I guess we'll see. The next player listed there is my absolute draft crush for this season. That is Isaiah Simpson, the Clemson linebacker. Okay, Simpson plays not only linebacker, but he can play in the secondary, and at times he plays up on the line. He's just a absolute machine. I think, there's a lot of buzz obviously around Chase Young, but I think that Simmons is the most exciting defensive player coming out in this draft. So should be interesting to find out where he finds a home. I've seen him mocked a lot to the New York Giants, I think at the 4 pick. So it'll be interesting to see if that's where he ends up. I'd like the Vikes to move up and get him, trade both those number 2s and whatever else they want, and go up and get this guy because I think he's going to be a game changer. Number 3, we got K'Lavon Chaisson out of LSU, right? The edge rusher. Another exciting prospect coming in, and I again said LSU, just like I mentioned, they are all over in this draft. That the team is going to be unbelievably represented at the end of draft night. But where does Chaisson end up? I've seen him mocked a lot to Dallas in the mocks, so we'll see how that goes. Next up on the list here is Patrick Queen out of LSU, the linebacker. Another exciting player. I've seen him mocked for the most part late first, early second round. Should be fun to find out where he finds a home. He could be wearing purple and gold again. I think there's a chance. I've picked him in a couple mocks that I've done for the Vikings. So should be fun there. Next up, Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma, where the wind went sweeping down the plains, right? But excellent prospect here. I think he's going to show up and score some points for his fantasy owners. Should be interesting to see, again, where he lands. And next up on the list is A.J. Espenza out of Iowa, an absolute monster on the football field. I think I saw last night he had 20 tackles behind the line of scrimmage last year in college ball. So it'd be interesting where he ends up. I have that uniform he's wearing there looks a lot like one of those teams in the AFC, doesn't it? Because that sure sounds like a pick that they would make, those Pittsburgh Steelers there. Next up is Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State, another exciting edge rusher. He's going to be on a whole bunch of fantasy rosters by the time the drafts are over. So keep an eye out for him. And here we go. Up on the list next is Xavier McKinney, the safety out of Alabama. Xavier's got a lot of hype around him. He's probably the best safety in the draft. I would rank him the best pure safety in the draft because, as I mentioned earlier, Simmons can play all over the field, but McKinney's probably the best prototypical safety they've got coming out this year. Another safety next on the clock here, Grant Delpit out of LSU. The LSU Tigers again being talked about in today's stream. But another player going to be drafted high, and it's going to be drafted quite often in fantasy leagues as well. Okay, and then here's our first lineman that pops up, right? The first interior type lineman, Derek Brown out of Auburn. He rounds out the top 10 here for these individual defensive players. So, like I said, that kind of goes through all of our rookie rankings today. Pretty interesting set of prospects there. So should be fun. We're still a long ways away from fantasy football drafts, but at least this give you an idea of guys to scout, guys to look into as you're preparing for your various leagues. Just a quick channel reminder here. The two things that are on the schedule currently is obviously for the fantasy league. We do have our draft lottery on Friday, and then on the 23rd, the night of the 23rd for the NFL draft, we will be doing a live stream here on Valhalla Sports Talk. Just kind of reaction to the draft as we're watching it on TV with the rest of you. Glad that thing's still going on. It's given us something to talk about as we go through this rough time in sports. But that comes up on the 23rd, the night of the 23rd, and then I might do something on the 24th. I don't think I'll do all 3 days, but should be exciting. We ask you to tune in, and again, thank you for coming in today to check this out. So in closing for today's little video here, I'd like to again ask you to hit us up in the comments. Tell us about some of the players that you are excited about as we get into the NFL draft, and what players you're looking for your fantasy football teams. Also, we ask you to always ask you to subscribe to the channel, help us grow. We're roughly 2 months into this deal, and we're striving to get to 100 subscribers. So we're pushing for that, and appreciate all the support we've got so far here. So anyway, you guys have a great day. Be safe, and thank you for tuning in to Valhalla Sports Talks, the voice of fantasy football. You have a great day.